Hello, Frida Reba Dorsey here, and Patricia O'Connor. Happy Friday on the Bonsai Balcony. I thought I would take this. Look at this. Isn't this beautiful? If I could bottle that and sell it, I probably wouldn't. I thought I would take this time to do a little catch up on how things are looking and what I've learned about my watering schedule since my little since I became more concerned with it last summer. Last summer I was tooling along thinking things were going pretty good, and then I had a little problems with one of my pines and a couple of my oaks, and that made me wonder what the heck was going on, whether or not I'd caused that. And you got to kind of watch that stuff. Sometimes you'll think you've done something when maybe you haven't, or maybe you're not sure what you did. And by thinking you did one thing, you may change your motive of what you thought was right, and then, as a result, stop doing some of the stuff that you were doing well. In this case, I saw where that looked like it was being overwatered, and so I started watering less. At the same time, I started watering all of them less, and I think as a result, I may have burned this one, when really I was seeing symptoms of overwatering, but it wasn't due to my frequency of watering. It was due to a draining issue that I developed, and a repot was what I decided to do on that. And I would also say, don't go jumping into that all willy-nilly. That was a risky move on my part, but we have new green needles all over the tree, so I'm hoping that is a sign of good health. So yeah, that's kind of what's going on there. Now, the modus operandi for winter with these same trees that you don't want to overwater. One, they're not taking up near as much water, and two, it's winter, so it's probably where you are doing something. For us, it rained this morning, and it didn't rain. It sprinkled twice, I think, yesterday. I don't know that I would include that as a water, and you just kind of have to play it by ear. You wake up in the morning, and the soil on the top dressing is damp, and it's damp underneath, and you kind of go, well, I'm pretty sure we got watered, but that kind of happened in the middle of the night without us. So what I do is that if this hasn't been rained on or snowed on the third day, I'll water it. Same with that one, same with that one, same as that one. And that's a little different than my summer method, which my summer method is to check it by seeing if the top of the soil looks dry. If it does look dry, I scratch down an inch or two and see what it looks like below that. And that tells me whether or not I should water or wait. And in the summer, I can I will probably check it again later on that day and see if it still passes that test. But also, on a really hot day, you may find that you're going to water more than once. Boy, there's a lot of new shoots coming out on this little Brussels, pine, and as is my little 2-year-old little pine. Everything right now is looking like it's already getting ready to start budding. Not my cypress, but everything else. Like I was just noticing when I was looking at my wisterias, those buds are swelling, and here on the end, it's already starting to focus. It's trying to open. It's a little early for that. This is a 3-year-old from clone, Japanese white wisteria floribunda. That's what Japanese wisteria floribunda. And They're real easy. It's a great tree to have for a bonsai. They're pretty easy to train. You can see I put a couple of slings or a couple of guy wires on it since last time I showed this tree. It also has my fertilizer that I was showing about little pellets on it. It might be a little early to do that, but it's getting watered, so it's getting fed. I was concerned about the level of nitrogen in the fertilizers that I've been using, the dry organic fertilizer, which is BioGold. And later I learned that BioGold is 555. So that is a single digit in that department, and we don't have to worry about too much nitrogen. So yeah. My wisteria is definitely looking like it is about ready to start busting right out. The one next to it is a clone of the same year. I believe it is also white. I do have some blue ones around here somewhere, but I think they're in larger. Those are the ones that are some purple ones, but those are in a larger container, waiting to be a project at some other time. This one is two clones which are wired together, and then I covered the wire with a little raffia. I thought it would look better than just wire there, but they're wired really tight below the surface too. So this is my little fusion. I thought that both being clones, they were probably cloned from the same mother, and I wondered when I did this if that meant that they would bloom at the same time. I've discovered since then, no, they will. This tree buds out. One side of it can bud out a week different than the other. I suspect it's still going to be genetically. I mean, it looks the same when everything comes out, but it's not timed. It's still on two different trees, kind of timing, and those were really. I would say those were really good first projects for me. They will lend themselves to wiring. They'll lend themselves to shaping. It's best to prune them back probably after July when the tendrils are all gotten really long and stuff. And I wouldn't prune them back much in the fall because you may be pruning off next year, or in the winter because you may be pruning off next year's buds, right? You see all of that stuff that I'd be giving up there if I took the scissors to these guys. And, some of those are blooms, and some of those are going to be leaf matter. So yeah, oh yeah, and here's a little quick look up at our. I did a little thing where I was plucking some leaves on it earlier. Here's a little quick look at our Kodaheim maple forest. I think it's looking better after it's cleaned up. It's still full of little red buds, and it's still the wrong time of year to be doing that. You know, but who am I? Maybe it knows better. This might be all the winter we're getting. But it's happy and it's doing well, and I think the shape of it is coming along pretty nice. It looks like the back might be touching the wall a little bit. So it's coming along pretty nice. All in all, I'm pretty happy with the overall shape of this. I don't need that many branches coming out in one place, but I'll prune it back. I'm gonna let things continue to grow for a minute and then I'll prune it back. Meanwhile, one of the mistakes that I made with this, where they were all clones and they were all of the same year, but as you can see, barely a little over a year later, they are already starting to diversify quite a bit in trunk size. You know, and that's just going to continue more and more and more. The little ones will continue to get little, and the big ones will continue to outgrow them. And I can probably, hopefully, do some things to balance that out so I don't lose any trees. but at the same time, they don't all exactly look like what they were, which was probably clones of the same plant, all at the same age, all at the same time. So that little rule where you kind of go with trees of a different year, yeah, that's not a bad rule, but you can also do it this way. I'm seeing lots of diversification in the diameter of these trees. They're doing just exactly what you would expect a field of trees of anything to do. And also expectations, I would say this bougainvillea just keeps on giving. Losing a few leaves here in winter, but it's been really pleasing little project to start with, and I'll probably get ready to do a little selective pruning on it sometime later on in the year. And I'm waiting for my other little bald cypress, to come out. Its leaves are just so rusty and pretty. It's just such a beautiful color. And then my other little show hen, being my ponderosa. This is the least maintenance tree I have. If I can just leave it alone, it'll live. If I try to care for it, it'll probably not like that. The ponderosas, well, it's in a tiny, tiny little pot. So being in the tray helps with the temperatures that pot was getting at. I was worried about it because they don't like water, but on the other hand, they don't like as much water. But on the other hand, that pot was so little and would get so hot and would dry out so fast that I was kind of worried about whether or not I would be able to, like riding a bicycle. I was kind of worried about whether or not the tree would fall over before I learned to balance it. But so far, I would have to say I'm fairly pleased. I think it's meeting me halfway. And ponderosas, man, they're just awesome. They are. If you live in some place where you get a couple of 32-degree days or nights a year, if it freezes at least once a year or something, you might want to look into ponderosa pines. I don't think everybody can have one in some of the hottest places, but there's also ways around that. But yeah, what a beautiful happy tree. Oh yeah, now this is something I haven't really mentioned before. Yamadoris, when it comes to Yamadoris, I have two. Is that right? Yeah, the only Yamadoris I have right now are my two ponderosas, and both of these trees were obtained in the Dakotas by people who were very, very knowledgeable, very, very professional. This wasn't on, they weren't, this was all on the up and up. I don't think I would be the kind of person that would fall in love with something and would like to be a part of it forever. But I'm not but I would rather leave with that feeling of longing than take something away that everybody enjoys. Especially given that in order to be good at Yamadori, you probably have a steep learning curve on that. And when I think about the amount of trees that are probably lost to that, I am genuinely concerned. It was kind of like, I don't know, but it was a little like the scene in the movie where people had never seen a tree before. The Blade Runner sequel, where a dead tree was worth staking up and keeping in place because people had never seen one. I would hate to think that we're going to be like that, but we have been like that about a lot of things. But this isn't what this video is about. I would just wanted to take a second to let everybody know that the Yamadoris that I have were collected by people who are straight up people and who aren't robbing resources from parks or, drive-by diggings necessarily. Um, yeah, our guys were on their game, and you can, and to that end, that's also a good way to go, because when you see a tree, uh, and you like a tree, somebody else with the expertise and the training and the permits or the land or all the way to do that right will have taken care of all of the hard part for you. And when you buy the tree, you're probably buying something that's been established a year or two. So the success ratio for that would go way up. I don't think that in my stage of the game, having raised carnivorous plants, orchids, and other crops throughout the years, I don't think my expertise would have been good enough to ship to that guy, probably out of the side of a rock without killing it. But by going about it the right way, that's a 150-year-old tree that's now that now me and other people will be able to enjoy for a long time. So yeah, we're on our game. We got this. Man, what a great Friday. Like I said a couple of videos ago, we're still in winter. I mean, this is our first Friday of January. I wonder, maybe in Oakland they're having their art festival. I bet they probably aren't over COVID. But first Fridays are a big art show, typically happening in Oakland. Also, sad to say, I made an announcement last week about the bonsai shows. Those are still, as I said, going to be great on Saturday and Sunday. However, the second meeting that I was looking forward to going to with my Oakland Bonsai Club is now going to be virtual again due to COVID. So now I've gotten my Google invitation, and well, there's a bright side. Maybe I probably wouldn't have thrown this cork bark oak in the front seat of my little car to go to the meeting the way I did a couple of small trees last month. But if all I got to do is run in there and prop it up in front of the camera the way I do y'all, I could probably do that, and bring a tree for show and tell. By the way, just looking at this tree, I don't know if you guys can tell, but you're looking at this tree in the same lens that you've always seen this tree, from about the same distance that you've always seen this tree, except that this trunk has gotten pretty honking over what I have a hard time calling a winter. Yeah. Also, I'm feeling really good about our first branches and going into our secondary branches, and I'm really looking forward to some spring. And it's already starting to bud out. The little bit of clip back that I did 3 weeks ago, I'm already seeing shoots on those branches farther back. So that's already working out really well. Watch me get 3 flushes. Watch me, without doing a major cutback. I won't be cutting this thing back hardly major. I'm going to try not to do major cutbacks for the most part on anything. It's more about conserving energy, but just nibbling things back a little bit. Watch me get 3 flushes out of this oak, out of this cork bark oak this year. And other than that, this is probably mycorrhiza. Spores. Man, I found out the coolest thing. This is just a little DIY. Do you know that mycorrhiza or mycelia or another thing, mushrooms. Mushrooms aren't the main body. They are to a spore what a flower is to a plant. In other words, they just pop up below the main body to disperse spores. That isn't really the main body. It's a small fraction of the main body, in the same way that a flower is not the main plant. And I keep making the distinction between spores and plants, because here's the amazing thing I learned this week. In the planetary, or the on the game of life scheme of things on Earth, we are more closely related to fungus, spores, microcelia, mushrooms, however you want to say it, than we are plants. Also, the same towards us. In other words, plants aren't at the bottom and we're at the top, and fungus is in the middle. No, it would be fungus is beside us, and is also more closely related to mammals than it is plants. And people have taken and looked at those cobwebs that are below the plant surface, which is the microcelia, which aids many plants in their nourishment. And they have seen in instances where the microcelia will run towards sicker trees, and the end result of that is a boosting up of the unhealthy, as if deliberate. And they have also seen electrical impulses move through mycorrhiza, sort of in the same way that electrical impulses run through neurons in our brain cells, except not as fast. One thing is about not to go blowing tooting people's horn. I think there's more than enough people bragging about people, but apparently our brains work far faster than anything, or most anything else, according to Neil Tyson deGrasse. Anyway, yeah, nerd stuff. So I thought that was really interesting that we're more closely related to mushrooms and microcelia than we are plants, and they are more closely related to us than they are plants. And some of them do really, really cool stuff, and some of them are absolutely the things that nightmares are made of. But yeah, also they can put those when they run experiments. Now this is with lichens. I think lichens fit into this category. Yeah, this is one more quick nerd fact before we go. I just give and give. So apparently on the space shuttle, they have one of those little two-way doors where they can expose something to the vacuum of space. You know, you can open a little door, put a sample on it, close the door, seal it up tight, and then push a button, and then it's on the outside cage so that it's then exposed to whatever the temperature is, whatever the vacuum is. And apparently they can take lichens and expose them to the extreme dry and extreme cold, and they watch them change before their very eyes, like anybody who's ever seen what happens to people on an episode of Guardians of the Galaxy. The only difference is later, much later, when returned and put back in a oxygen-rich environment at a decent temperatures, they revive. I thought that was pretty cool. All right, like and subscribe if you haven't already. I appreciate you so much, and Frida appreciates you so much. And we're going to call this our Friday drop, and I'll do another one of these before the weekend's out. And so I will see you on the weekend. Thank you so much for watching.